Dr. Kim Hannah rubbed her tired eyes and glanced at the clock on her computer screen. It was almost 4 in the morning at the Seoul Deep Space Observatory, and she had been working alone for the past 6 hours. The building was quiet except for the soft humming of computers and the occasional beep from the radio telescopes outside. She took another sip of her cold coffee and made a face. It tasted terrible, but she needed to stay awake. Her job was to listen to space, to catch any unusual signals that might come from distant stars. Most nights, she heard nothing but random noise from the universe. Tonight felt different, though she could not explain why. The large screens in front of her showed waves of data streaming in from space. Green lines moved up and down like a heartbeat on a hospital monitor. For 3 years, Hannah had watched these same patterns night after night. She knew what normal space noise looked like. She knew what planets and stars sounded like when their radio waves reached Earth at exactly 3:47 a.m. Something changed. A new pattern appeared on her screen, different from anything she had seen before. The green line moved in a way that made her lean forward in her chair. This was not random noise from a distant star. This was not interference from a satellite. The pattern repeated itself over and over, like someone tapping on a door in the same rhythm. Hannah felt her heart beat faster. She quickly started recording the signal and ran it through the computer programs that could clean up space noise. As the static cleared away, she could see the pattern more clearly. It had structure, like a language or a code. This can't be right, she whispered to herself. She had studied signals from space for years during her training. She knew that natural things in space, like spinning stars or colliding galaxies, could make patterns that looked intelligent but were really just physics. But this was different. This pattern was too organized, too perfect to be an accident of nature. The signal was coming from a region of space, about 12 light-years away from Earth. Her instruments showed nothing there. No stars, no planets, nothing at all. Just empty black space. Yet somehow, something in that empty region was sending a signal strong enough to reach Earth. Hannah pulled up the decoding programs on her computer. These were special tools designed to look for patterns in signals that might be messages from alien civilizations. Scientists had been searching for such signals for more than 50 years, but they had never found anything real. The first program finished its analysis in 20 minutes. The result made Hannah's hands shake as she read it on the screen. The signal contained what looked like language patterns. Not just any language patterns, human language patterns. She ran the signal through another program, one designed to recognize different human languages. The computer worked for 10 more minutes, processing the complex data. When it finished, Hannah stared at the result in complete shock. The signal contained perfect Korean, her native language, spoken exactly as she would speak it herself. But that was not all. The computer also found English, Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, and a dozen other human languages, all mixed together in the same signal. With trembling fingers, Hannah opened the language translation program and fed the signal into it. The program worked to separate the different languages and translate them into text. What appeared on her screen made her feel cold all over. The message was simple, written in perfect Korean, "We are here." Then, in English, "We are here." Then, in every other human language the computer could recognize, "We are here." Hannah sat back in her chair, staring at the screen. This was impossible. No natural process could create a signal that contained human languages. Someone or something had sent this message on purpose, but who? And from where? She checked her instruments again. The signal was definitely coming from empty space, 12 light-years away, but as she watched, she noticed something that made her stomach feel sick with worry. The signal was getting stronger. Whatever had sent this message was not staying in one place. It was moving, and based on how fast the signal strength was increasing, it was moving toward Earth. Hannah tried to stay calm as she double-checked all of her equipment. Maybe her instruments were broken. Maybe this was all a mistake, but every test showed the same result. The signal was real, it was intelligent, and it was getting closer to Earth with each passing hour. She picked up her phone to call her supervisor, Dr. Park Jin-ho. Her hands were shaking so badly that she had to try 3 times before she could dial the number correctly. The phone rang 4 times before a sleepy voice answered. "Hello, Hannah. Why are you calling so early?" "Dr. Park," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "You need to come to the observatory right now. I think I found something." "Found what? Can't it wait until morning?" Hannah looked at the screen where the message still glowed in a dozen different languages. "We are here," it said, over and over. "No," she whispered. "I don't think it can wait." Dr. Park Jin-ho arrived at the observatory 30 minutes after Hannah's phone call. He found her still sitting in front of the computers, her eyes red from staring at the screens all night. The coffee cup in her hand was empty, and she had not moved from her chair since discovering the signal. "Show me," he said simply. Hannah played the recording for him. Park listened carefully as the computer translated the message into text on the screen. His face grew more serious with each repetition of, "We are here," in different languages. When the playback finished, he was quiet for a long time. "Run it again," he said. They listened to the signal 5 more times. Park checked all of Hannah's work, tested the equipment, and ran his own analysis programs. Every test gave the same result. The signal was real, intelligent, and getting stronger. "We need to contact the government," Park said finally. "This is beyond what our observatory can handle alone." Within 2 hours, the small observatory was filled with people. Government officials arrived in black cars with tinted windows. Military officers in uniform spoke quietly into radios. Scientists from universities across Korea came to see the signal for themselves. Dr. Lee Min-ho arrived from Seoul National University at 8 in the morning. He was a specialist in human behavior and psychology, called in to help understand what the message might mean for humanity. He was a thin man with thick glasses who spoke softly but always asked the right questions. "Has the message changed at all?" he asked Hannah. "Yes," she replied, pulling up the latest recording. "Listen to this." The new message was longer than before. After saying "we are here" in multiple languages, it continued, "We have been watching." Min-ho frowned as he heard the words. Watching what? And for how long? Nobody had an answer. By noon, observatories around the world were confirming Hannah's discovery. Radio telescopes in Australia, Chile, and the United States were all picking up the same signal. Television news programs began reporting that scientists had discovered something unusual in space. But the governments were not telling the public the full truth yet. The president of South Korea called an emergency meeting with world leaders. Within hours, representatives from every major country were connected by video conference. Hannah found herself sitting at a table with some of the most powerful people on Earth, explaining her discovery to presidents, prime ministers, and generals. "How do we know this is not some kind of trick?" asked the American president. "Maybe. Another country is testing a new technology. The signal is coming from deep space," Hannah explained patiently. "No human technology could send a signal from 12 light-years away. And no country on Earth knows all these languages well enough to speak them perfectly." "What do they want?" asked the British Prime Minister. "We don't know yet," replied Dr. Min-ho. "But the fact that they know our languages suggests they have been studying us for a long time." As if responding to their questions, the signal changed again. At exactly 2:30 p.m., observatories around the world detected a new message. This time, the words made everyone in the meeting room go silent. "We are here. We have been watching. We are coming home." The word home sent chills through everyone. Who heard it? What did it mean? How could Earth be home to something from 12 light-years away? "How long do we have?" asked the Chinese president. Hannah looked at her calculations. The signal strength had been increasing steadily since she first detected it. Based on the rate of change, she could estimate when whatever was sending the signal would arrive at Earth. 6 days, she said quietly. The room erupted into urgent conversations. Military leaders talked about defense preparations. Scientists discussed ways to communicate with the approaching visitors. Politicians worried about how to tell the public without causing panic. Dr. Minho raised his hand for silence. "We need to think carefully about our response," he said. "These beings, whatever they are, have been watching us. They know our languages, our cultures. They may know more about us than we realize. Is that good or bad?" asked someone from the back of the room. "I don't know," Minho admitted. "But the fact that they are announcing their arrival suggests they want us to know they are coming. If they meant to harm us, they probably would not warn us first." Over the next few hours, world governments made difficult decisions. Military bases around the globe were put on high alert, but quietly, without causing public alarm. Scientists began preparing equipment for possible communication with the approaching visitors. Diplomats started writing protocols for first contact with an alien civilization. As evening approached, Hannah received permission to send a response signal into space. It was a simple message in multiple human languages. "We hear you. We are waiting." The response came back within hours, faster than should have been possible given the distance. The message was brief, but sent another wave of fear through the emergency meeting. "Good. We will be there soon, little ones." Little ones. The phrase suggested that whoever was coming saw humans as children. That night, as world leaders worked frantically to prepare for first contact, one question haunted everyone's thoughts. Were they about to meet their creators, their teachers, or their conquerors? The signal continued to grow stronger with each passing hour. 6 days after the first signal, Dr. Kim Hannah stood in a brand new building in Geneva, Switzerland. The world's governments had worked day and night to create the first contact center, a place where humans could talk to visitors from space. The building had the most advanced communication equipment on Earth. All pointed toward the stars. Hannah felt nervous as she looked at the screens around her. Scientists from every country stood nearby, watching and waiting. Dr. Lee Minho stood beside her, studying papers full of notes about how to talk to alien beings. Outside the building, military soldiers guarded the area, but they had been told not to show their weapons. "Anything yet?" asked Dr. Park, who had flown in from Korea to help with the historic moment. "No," Hannah replied, checking her instruments. "But the signal is so strong now that they must be very close." At exactly 3:15 p.m., every telescope on Earth turned toward Jupiter. The space near the giant planet had been empty moments before, but suddenly, something appeared. Then something else. Then a third object. "My God," whispered someone behind Hannah. 3 enormous ships hung in space near Jupiter. Each one was the size of a large city, bigger than anything humans had ever built, but their shape was unlike any human spacecraft. They looked almost alive, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like water. Parts of the ships glowed, with soft light that changed colors slowly, like a heartbeat made of rainbow colors. The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They were clearly made by intelligence far beyond human understanding, yet something about their design felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream. "Are they moving?" asked Dr. Minho. "No," replied Hannah, studying her instruments. "They're just sitting there, waiting." For 3 hours, the ships remained motionless near Jupiter. The world watched through telescopes and space cameras as the 3 visitors hung silently in space. Then, without warning, something new happened. Hannah's personal phone rang. She stared at it in confusion. The phone was her own device, not connected to any of the official communication systems in the building. How could it be ringing during the most important moment in human history? "Should I answer it?" she asked Dr. Minho. "I don't know," he replied. "Maybe it's a mistake." The phone kept ringing. Finally, Hannah picked it up and pressed the answer button. "Hello?" she said carefully. A voice spoke back to her, and she nearly dropped the phone. The voice was speaking Korean, but not just any Korean. It was speaking in the exact way her grandmother had spoken, with the same accent from the small village where Hannah had grown up. Even the tone and rhythm were exactly right. "Hello, little gardener," the voice said gently. "You have grown so beautifully." Hannah's hands began to shake. "Who is this?" "My name is Yoon Dae-ho," the voice replied. "I am what you might call a keeper. We have been waiting a very long time to talk to you properly." Around the room, other scientists were looking at their own phones as they began to ring. Each person who answered heard a voice speaking in their own language, with accents from their own homeland. The voices all sounded human, but somehow not quite right. Dr. Minho answered his phone and heard someone speaking in the dialect from his childhood. Neighborhood in Busan, Dr. Park heard a voice that sounded like his deceased father. Every person in the room heard someone who seemed to know them personally. "How do you know our languages so well?" Hannah asked into her phone. "Because we taught them to you," replied the voice of Yoon Dae-ho. "Long, long ago." The words made no sense to Hannah. "What do you mean, child? There is much you do not understand about your species, about your world, about where you came from." More keepers began to speak through the phones in the room. Each one had a human name and spoke like a human, but their words carried knowledge that no human possessed. They knew details about Earth's history that no textbook contained. They knew about human cultures that had been lost for thousands of years. One of the keepers, speaking through Dr. Minho's phone, began to explain the truth that changed everything. "Your species was not born on this world naturally," the voice said calmly. "Earth was prepared for you. The climate was adjusted. The other animals were arranged to support your growth. The plants were chosen to feed you. Everything was planned." "That's impossible," Dr. Minho protested. "Is it?" the voice replied. "Have you never wondered why humans are so different from every other animal on Earth? Why you think differently, build tools, create art, why you look up at the stars and dream of traveling to them?" Hannah felt dizzy as she listened to her own keeper's words. "Are you saying we're not from Earth?" "You are from Earth now," Yoon Dae-ho replied kindly. "But your ancestors came from far away, long before your history books begin. We brought them here. We planted them like seeds in a garden. We watched them grow into something wonderful." "Why?" Hannah whispered. "Because that is what keepers do. We find young species and give them worlds where they can grow safely. We protect them until they are ready for the larger universe." The room fell silent as the weight of these words sank in. Humanity had not evolved naturally on Earth. They were transplants, brought here by gardeners from the stars. "And now," asked Dr. Park into his phone, "now you have grown beyond what we expected. You are ready for the next step." The next morning, something appeared in the center of the first contact building that made everyone step back in amazement. A figure materialized out of thin air, glowing softly like moonlight. It looked almost human, but taller and more graceful than any person Hannah had ever seen. Its features were perfect in a way that seemed impossible, and its eyes held the wisdom of countless years. "I am Cho Sang-woo," the figure said, and its voice filled the room without being loud. "I speak for the keepers who planted your species on this world." Dr. Kim Hannah found herself chosen to speak for all of humanity. Her hands shook as she stepped forward, knowing that billions of people were depending on her words. "Why are you here now?" she asked. Cho Sang-woo smiled, but the expression was sad. "Because you have reached the moment when we must decide your future. Every species we plant faces this same test when they develop the ability to travel between stars." Dr. Lee Minho moved closer, his notebook ready. "What kind of test?" "The test of unity," Sang-woo replied. "Throughout the galaxy, we have planted 17 different species on 17 different worlds. We watched them grow, learned their ways, and waited for them to reach this moment. What happened to the others? Asked Dr. Park quietly. Sangwoo's expression grew even sadder. 14 failed the test. 3 succeeded. The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what failed meant, even though no one wanted to say it out loud. What exactly is the test? Hannah asked. Sangwoo gestured, and the air above his hand began to glow. Images appeared showing advanced technology beyond human imagination. Ships that could cross the galaxy in days. Machines that could heal any disease. Energy sources that could power entire worlds without harming the environment. We offer you the stars, he said. Faster than light travel, clean unlimited energy, medical knowledge that could end suffering, technology that could make your world a paradise. The images were beautiful, showing human cities transformed by amazing technology. Spacecraft carrying people to distant worlds, sick people made healthy by alien medicine. But, Sangwoo continued, and the images changed to show something terrible. If you use our gifts to make war against your own species, if you carry your conflicts to other worlds, if you prove that you cannot work together as one people, then we will remove you from the garden. Remove us? Dr. Minho asked, though he already knew the answer. Complete extinction. We will erase humanity from this world as if you never existed. The weight of those words settled over everyone in the room. This was not just first contact with aliens. This was Judgment Day for the entire human species. How long do we have? Hannah asked. 1 year, Sangwoo replied. We will give you limited access to our technology. You will be able to build ships that can travel to nearby star systems. You will have energy sources that could solve your climate problems. You will have medical tools that could heal your people. He paused, and his eyes seemed to look directly into Hannah's soul. But all of this technology will have what you might call locks on it. If any nation uses our gifts to attack another human nation, if any group tries to use our technology for war against other humans, everything will shut down immediately. And then? Asked Dr. Park. And then we will know that humanity failed the test. The 14 species that came before you failed because they could not stop fighting each other, even when their survival depended on it. Dr. Minho looked up from his notes. What about the 3 species that passed? For the first time, Sang's expression brightened. They learned to work together. They put aside their old conflicts and became one united people. They now travel the galaxy as members of the Galactic Confederation, helping us find and plant new species. You want us to give up our countries, our different cultures? Hannah asked. No, Sangwoo replied gently. The successful species kept their diversity. They kept their different languages, their different traditions, their different ways of thinking. But they learned that these differences made them stronger, not weaker. They learned to see themselves as one species with many beautiful variations, rather than many separate tribes fighting over limited resources. Images appeared above Sangwoo's hand, showing the 3 successful species. They looked very different from humans, but in their cities, beings with different skin colors, different body types, and different features all worked together in harmony. Your species shows promise, Sangwoo continued. You have created art that moves us, music that brings us joy, stories that teach us about hope and love. But you also make war over small differences, destroy your own environment for short-term gain, and allow millions of your own kind to suffer, while others have more than they need. The technology began to appear around the world within hours. Strange devices materialized in laboratories, offering clean energy that could replace all fossil fuels. Spacecraft blueprints appeared in the minds of engineers, showing them how to build ships that could reach the stars. Medical knowledge flowed into hospitals, bringing cures for diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. But every gift came with the same invisible lock. Use it for war, and lose it all. The test had begun. 1 year had passed since the Keepers gave humanity their test. Dr. Kim Hannah stood in what used to be the Seoul Convention Center, but now served as the headquarters for the United Earth Council. The building had been transformed with Keeper technology walls that could display information from anywhere on the planet, translation devices that allowed people speaking different languages to understand each other perfectly, and communication systems that connected every nation on Earth. Hannah looked out the window at a city that had changed dramatically. The sky was cleaner than it had been in decades, because all the factories now ran on Keeper energy sources. Electric cars had been replaced by vehicles that floated silently above the streets. In the distance, she could see the construction site, where humanity's first interstellar spacecraft was being built. But the biggest change was not in the technology. It was in the people. Dr. Lee Minho approached her with a tablet full of reports from around the world. His job had changed from studying human psychology to helping coordinate the greatest cooperation project in human history. The African Federation just agreed to share their new medical facilities with South America, he said, showing her the latest agreement. And the European Alliance is sending their best engineers to help build water purification systems in Southeast Asia. Hannah smiled as she read the report. The first months after the test began had been difficult. Old enemies found it hard to trust each other. Some countries had tried to secretly use Keeper technology for military purposes, only to watch all their new devices shut down immediately. The turning point came when India and Pakistan, two nations that had been enemies for decades, were forced to work together to prevent a natural disaster. A massive earthquake had threatened to destroy cities in both countries. The only way to save millions of lives was to use Keeper technology together, sharing resources and expertise across their border. When they succeeded, other nations began to understand what the test really meant. Working together was not just about passing the Keeper's examination. It was about survival and making life better for everyone. Dr. Park joined them at the window. He now served as one of humanity's representatives to the Keeper Council, the group of humans and Keepers who met every week to discuss humanity's progress. Cho Sang-woo wants to meet with us this afternoon, he said. He says it's time for the final evaluation. Hannah felt her stomach tighten with nervousness. All year, the Keepers had watched silently as humanity struggled to work together. They had not given hints about whether humans were passing or failing the test. Today, they would finally learn their species' fate. The afternoon meeting took place in the same room where humanity had first learned about the test. Cho Sang-woo materialized in the center of the room, but this time his expression was different. Instead of the serious, watchful look he had worn for months, he seemed genuinely surprised. In 300,000 years of planting species across the galaxy, he began, we have never seen anything like what humanity has accomplished. Hannah exchanged glances with Dr. Minho and Dr. Park. Was this good news or bad news? The other 17 species we tested focused only on stopping their wars with each other, Sang-woo continued. They learned to work together, which was enough to pass our test. But humanity has done something none of them did. Images began to appear in the air above the Keeper's hand. They showed scenes from around Earth, humans working to save endangered animals, cleaning polluted oceans, replanting destroyed forests, and taking care of other species that shared their planet. You did not just learn to cooperate with each other, Sang-woo said, and for the first time in a year, he smiled. You learned to protect those who are weaker than yourselves. You extended your care to creatures who cannot speak for themselves, or offer you anything in return. The images showed the Australian government relocating entire cities to preserve the habitats of endangered animals. They showed the Brazilian people working together to restore the Amazon rainforest. They showed fishing communities around the world changing their methods to protect ocean life, even when it meant catching fewer fish. This level of compassion is extremely rare in the galaxy, Sang-woo continued. Most species that reach your level of technology see other forms of life as resources to be used, but humanity has chosen to see them as fellow travelers on the same world. Dr. Minho leaned forward. Does this mean we passed? Sung-woo's smile grew wider. Not only have you passed, but you have earned a special place in the Galactic Confederation. We would like to invite humanity to join us as full partners in finding and guiding new species across the galaxy. The room erupted in quiet celebration. After a year of uncertainty and fear, humanity had not just survived their test, they had exceeded all expectations. 3 months later, Dr. Kim Hanna stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar spacecraft. Through the large windows, she could see Earth growing smaller behind them as they traveled toward their first diplomatic mission to another world. She activated the ship's communication system and sent a message back to Earth, where billions of people were watching their departure. "This is Dr. Kim Hanna aboard the Earth ship Unity," she said, using the name humanity had chosen for their vessel. "We are here. We made it. The stars are waiting for us all." As Earth faded to a tiny blue dot behind them, Hannah knew that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.